Welcome to the VapePassion show. This is the second episode. Today we're talking about Chinese New Year and what that means for you. Vape taxes in Chicago forcing a business to shut down. Chicago preempted from adopting tobacco tax. A Billion Lives documentary. 18350 battery test results. Kim Sun is back. Vapes on the fashion runway. An article on NJ.com filled with lies about vaping, a resource with all of the bills in progress, state by state, big vape conventions coming up in March, and Vaping Underground selling fake traffic to advertisers, and more. So let's get started. Hey everybody, Alex here with VapePassion.com. Welcome to the VapePassion show. This is episode 2. First I need to apologize for the audio and video quality coming up. I recorded all of this on my computer. That's where I always record all my videos, and for some reason my computer didn't record. I use a backup camera in case that happens. This is the first time I've ever had to use it, but the camera it's not very high quality, and I don't have my microphone connected to my camera. It's connected to my computer, so the video, I'm looking at the video on my computer, but the camera's a little offset, so I'm not looking directly at the camera in the video, and the audio isn't so great, but so hopefully that's not an issue with the next video. But anyway, we're just going to get right into it. I started by talking out about the Chinese New Year, which is from February 1st to the 14th, I believe, and about how Chinese factories and manufacturers, they're not sending anything out until the New Year's over. So that's where we're going to cut in. And as you know, most of our products come from China. So that means if you plan to order from Fast Tech, GearBest, or Heaven's Gifts, you're not going to get your delivery until March. They're not sending out shipments. So you can make your orders now, but you're not going to get it for a while. And a lot of your local vape shops, or online stores even, get their stuff from all of these Chinese businesses. So if they didn't stock up, there might be shortages. So one thing Fast Tech is doing, I don't know if any other sites are doing it, I haven't looked, but I know that Fast Tech is doing discounts, a site-wide 20% discount from February 4th to February 8th. No, February 7th. And then from February 8th to February 16th, 15% site-wide discount. So you can use the coupon code KUNGHEI. And that'll give you the 20% off site-wide or 15% off after the 7th. I actually published a post on my website if you want to take a look at it, of some of the things that I ordered. I already ordered some stuff, and some of the things that are on my wish list that I want, but maybe some things you might be interested in. I just don't have the money right now, so it's going to stay on my wish list for now. Okay, so there was this article on vaporforlife.com. They are our vendor. They announced that they're shutting down their Chicago store. So the owner of Vapor for Life, Steve Smilin, he says they're shutting down, they're being forced to shut down their Lincoln Square vape shop as of February 1st due to the vape taxes in Chicago, but they'll still be online, and they also have a location in Northbrook. I'm not going to read the whole article. I think you should read it. It's very passionate. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. So he says, "Man, oh man, the money buys power. The power taxes the people. The people suffer from a lack of choices, and America's freedom is lost again. Rahm Emanuel wants to kill you and make people believe it's for the good. He wants to stamp out vaping with abusive vape taxes, so big tobacco can keep murdering the public by the millions. Why, Rahm, be such a hypocrite? You tax the poor, the middle class, and take money from the rich. You sell your soul." Some other notable things he mentioned in there was that he sells his juice for $13.99, and he has to prepay Chicago $17.40 per bottle for these taxes, which he has to pass on down to his customer, which makes e-liquid pretty expensive. And he just can't afford it, and he doesn't feel like his customers deserve that, so one of the reasons he's shutting down. He also mentions that he sees in the new tax act that Mayor Rahm Emanuel has added very little tax to big tobacco's prepackaged cigarettes. So obviously, the mayor cares more about bringing in money than actually helping people. Now on this topic, an article that I'm going to discuss right after this, there was a news that Illinois state law does not allow Chicago to further increase tobacco product tax. So someone mentioned that in the comments, and Lisa Marie Farver, who works for Vapor for Life, commented saying, "Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that would affect vape products because they don't fall under the tobacco categories listed there. Funny that it's considered a tobacco product when it's convenient." So that's pretty interesting. It looks like Chicago might still get away with these crazy taxes on e-liquids just because they're going to choose not to classify e-liquid as a tobacco product in this case. So let's go to the article that the commenter is talking about. So this article was published on cspnet.com. It's titled, Chicago Preempted from Adopting Tobacco Tax. So the subheading here pretty much sums it up. Illinois state law prohibits the city of Chicago from enacting Emanuel's proposed taxes. So like I mentioned, the Chicago mayor, Rahm Emanuel, proposed a sweeping anti-tobacco ordinance back in September of last year. It included a whole bunch of new restrictions on tobacco products, but the one most important to vapors was a proposed tax of $1.25 on e-cig cartridges and 25 cents per milliliter on e-liquid. So it turns out, under Illinois state law, a home rule municipality is prohibited from imposing an excise tax on tobacco products unless the municipality had previously adopted such a tax before July 1st, 1993. Chicago is defined as a home rule municipality. So a review of the Chicago City Code reveals that the city did not impose a tax on other tobacco products before July 1st, 1993. Pretty much they're not allowed to do this. The Chicago Finance Committee is scheduled to hold a hearing on the proposed ordinance on February 8th. We'll see how that all plays out. And like I mentioned, they might not classify e-liquids as a tobacco product, so they still might get away with taxing them. In other disappointing news, here in Colorado, where I live, Greenwood Village just enacted a vape ban. So there was a post on Reddit from the user Vaping at 50, who his real name is Ian Firth. I believe he's head of the Colorado Savada chapter. He was at a hearing to speak against the ban. This ban includes vape stores, so that's ridiculous. What's funny is that the city accepted 2 new stores in the last quarter, approved their zoning and signage, took their money, and now they're telling them that people can't vape inside the stores. The reasoning that the city attorney gave for this ban is that people vape marijuana in vape devices. So Ian Firth, he met with the city attorney before the council meeting, and she pretty much told him that their intent was to prevent vaping everywhere smoking is prohibited, except for in tobacco stores and cigar lounges, where people can still smoke. They can't vape in a vape store. She went on to tell him that vaping doesn't help people quit smoking, and that vaping is just a way for people to conceal marijuana usage. Just ridiculous. She sent the chief of police to one of the local stores in Greenwood Village to buy a vape device. He came back with a cuboid and a tobacco Derringer clone, and she explained to the council that the device was designed for marijuana consumption. So Ian Firth, he said, no, that's designed for vaping. You can't vape marijuana in an RDA. And then she testified that the store sold them a device made for weed. She had also claimed that 14 other cities in Colorado had banned vaping in vape stores. He submitted documentation showing that only 2 of the 14 had, and 3 cities. And he's worked with them in amending the ordinances to make specific exemptions for vaping specialty stores. The city attorney claimed his documentation was false, and that she could find nothing online to support it, even though it was public record. She lied, the sheriff lied, and they got their way. The votes went 9-0. So the ban is now enacted. You can listen to the audio from it. I already listened to it. Pretty much explains everything I just said. It's there if you're interested. I believe that they are still gonna try and fight this. They're getting lawyers involved, so hopefully they can get that overturned. Okay, now let's move on to the latest Plumes of Hazard episode. So their guest last week was Aaron Biebert. He is the director of A Billion Lives. If you haven't heard of A Billion Lives, it's a documentary scheduled for release in 2016 about how electronic cigarettes have the potential to save billions of lives, but how people with vested interest are spreading misinformation and lies to keep e-cigs out of the hands of people who need them. If you pay attention at all to vaping news, this is not unfamiliar to you. We see lies all the time online. So the reason I bring this topic up is because it's getting close to that time where the filmmakers need help in getting the documentary into theaters. They're reaching out to the vaping community to spread the word. So we can do that by emailing, tweeting, and going on Facebook to tell our local movie theaters to show this movie. And one of the reasons that works is because movie theaters aren't usually contacted by normal citizens. So if we start contacting our theaters, they see interest and they're like, okay, sure, like there must be some interest if people are contacting us for it. You can also spread the word on social media, and you can sign up to their email list at abillionlives.com. They only send 1 or 2 emails per month. Usually they discuss some updates with the project, and they might give you a little information about ways you can help. So yeah, go to abillionlives.com to learn more and sign up and spread the word. Okay, so Mooch posted on the e-cigarette forum his new test results for 18350 batteries. He says there are no 18350s from Samsung, Sony, or LG. They appear to all be coming from like smaller battery manufacturers. I really wouldn't trust it. If none of them are coming from these big name brands, then they're probably not the highest quality. So he tested 13 18350 batteries. It appears that only 5 of them are actually different from each other. The other 9 appear to be the same cell. A lot of them are rewraps. So just to break it down real quick, the top 3 performers were AWT Yellows, Keep Power 8 amp, and the AW Red 12 amp. He didn't test Osibo Red, MXJO Red Silver, MXJO Yellow, or the Tensei Blue because they had such poor performance or excessive differences in performance that they just weren't even worth testing. So if you're thinking about buying one, you might want to reconsider. If you already own one, maybe go with the AWT Yellow or the Keep Power 8 amp or the AW Red. Okay, so moving on to Leonardo DiCaprio. The story is already old by now, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So, as you probably already know, he was caught vaping at the SAG Awards. So the American Lung Association tweeted on their account, "Spot someone vaping at the SAG Awards Saturday night? Learn more about health risks of e-cigs at lung.org/e-cigs." They also said something about his behavior being deeply troubling. So clearly the American Lung Association is anti-vaping. One of their comments was, "According to the doctors, the pens are pretty much unregulated and could be harmful to the user and those around him." So they're saying secondhand smoke, which research has shown that is not an issue, not with vaping. And I think what a lot of people are missing here, I've seen so many stories about this and negative towards vaping, and I think what a lot of people are missing is that Leonardo DiCaprio used to smoke, but now he's vaping, and he's been vaping for years now, a couple of years, and isn't that better than smoking? I think that's really what we need to focus on. So yeah, good for Leonardo DiCaprio for vaping. Unfortunately, at the Oscars, they've already come out and said that they are not allowing any vaping. Okay, so this one, another post on Reddit. So Sony is sending out cease and desist letters to vape shops selling their batteries. It's more of a cover your ass type of thing. They're not threatening legal action. They're just saying their batteries are not designed for vaping devices. Dangerous misuse of the battery cells poses a serious risk of injury or property damage. They say if you are currently selling or distributing standalone Sony lithium-ion rechargeable battery cells, other than in the condition and for the purpose originally intended by Sony, then you must immediately cease doing so. They also say that you should also immediately notify any person to whom you have sold or supplied any standalone batteries. It's a stern letter, but they aren't actually threatening any legal action. I think it's more designed to protect them, Sony, from being sued. Okay, so moving on. Everyone's talking about this new multifunctional tweezer. The first time I saw it was on guide-to-vaping.com, but I also saw it on Plumes of Hazard. It's just a cheap little ceramic tweezer that fits perfectly 22 millimeters around a tank, so it won't scratch your tank. If you get a tank stuck on your battery, you can use these tweezers to pinch it and twist it off without damaging the tank. So it's a neat little device. It has ceramic tweezers on the end, so I suppose you could use it for building coils too. And it's only like $3.81 from Fast Tech. So if you're making an order from Fast Tech with their Lunar New Year holiday special going on, maybe pick up a pair of those tweezers. Okay, Kim Sun. So I think a lot of us are familiar with Kim Sun or Kimry by now. They came out with the STL Wolf, which made a big stink with vape reviewers on YouTube. So they're back. They just came out with a press release announcing the successful launch of the STL Mini. The STL Mini is a 142 millimeter long and 14 millimeter diameter device. They still say it's a temperature control vaping kit. It's available in 4 colors: pink, blue, black, and silver. And it still pushes 30 watts of power like the STL Wolf did. Now it uses a titanium coil instead of nickel, which is what the STL Wolf had. And this one is a 650 milliamp hour battery. So that's half the battery life of the STL Wolf. They sent me the STL Wolf, and I think it's a pretty cool little device. It sucks what happened with their launch. They shouldn't have called it temperature control. They should have labeled the coils properly. Whatever. I don't use their tank on it. I use a different tank where I can use Kanthal coils. But anyway, it's a nice looking device, but it dies really fast. Pushing 30 watts on a sub-ohm coil, well, it just kills the battery in like 2 hours. So I could only imagine how long this STL Mini will last. 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Tiny though. I was looking at some pictures on the Kim Sun website, and it looks pretty sleek. It's about the size of a ballpoint pen. I don't know, it's kind of cool. Hopefully they've figured out their temperature control stuff. I wonder if they're going to be sending it to any reviewers. I doubt it. So there's that. Okay, so nymag.com published an article titled "Vapes Make Their New York Runway Debut." So what this is about is General Idea. They are a fashion company. They just had a show last week at Men's Fashion Week where all of the models were walking down the runway with vaporizers in their hands. So The Cut, or nymag.com, they reported it that the devices are from Innokin, and from the picture that they're showing, it does appear to be an Innokin Endura T22. But if you look through the slideshow, it looks like some of the other devices are from other manufacturers. I can't I couldn't tell, but they didn't look like they were all from Anakin. But anyway, so what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's just a sign of how popular vaping has become. But the one concern I have is that the anti-vaping groups are going to say that the fashion industry is trying to make vaping cool and appealing to people who don't smoke. So it just adds more fuel to the fire. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. Okay, so now this is probably the most ridiculous article I've read in a while. This is from NJ.com. It's titled, "Stop Corrupting Kids with Flavored Vapes." It's an editorial piece. I have so many notes on this one because there are so many things wrong with it. It's an anti-vaping article, obviously. The author says that advertising for e-cigarettes has reached 70% of high school students, which is 18 million young people. They see these ads in stores, magazines, online, and on TV. And these kids are, due to these ads, believing that vaping is a healthy alternative to tobacco, which is like saying it's safer to inhale the exhaust fumes of a hybrid vehicle than that of a diesel truck. So that statement right there just shows how little this person knows about electronic cigarettes. We already know from scientific research that vaping is at least 95% safer than smoking. So the author goes on to say, the 500 e-cigarette brands come in 7,700 kid-friendly flavors, including chocolate, bubblegum, and Fruit Loops. So yeah, sure, kids like those flavors, but so do adults. It's these flavors that keep former smokers off of cigarettes, and why I think vaping has such a high success rate of helping people quit smoking, especially when compared to the other methods that are out there right now that aren't working very well. And secondly, kids aren't allowed to go into vape shops. They aren't allowed to buy electronic cigarettes or e-liquid. So whether a kid wants it or not, they can't have it. And my daughter has asked me for a sip of beer or a sip of my coffee, but I don't give it to her. It's as simple as that. Okay, so the author goes on to say, Senate Health Committee Chairman Joseph Patel of New Jersey says, these companies are not marketing or selling these flavors to 50-year-olds trying to wean themselves off regular cigarettes. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. Vaping companies are not trying to market to children. I don't know where they're getting this stuff. It's like all in their heads, but there's no research to support it. A little further down the article, the author says that e-cigarettes contain toxic elements that you find in antifreeze, carcinogens, and yes, nicotine. So first I want to say this toxic element this person is talking about in antifreeze, I'm sure is propylene glycol. Well, yes, it's used in antifreeze because it prevents the mixture from freezing, but that doesn't make it a toxic ingredient. Antifreeze is toxic, but propylene glycol isn't. To compare it to antifreeze is just clueless. I mean, PG is also used in eye drops and asthma inhalers. And then, yes, nicotine. There really isn't anything wrong with nicotine. In highly concentrated form, yes, there's a problem. It can be poisonous, but so can a lot of other things. Water can be poisonous if you drink too much of it. I actually use nicotine for the benefits of nicotine. There's a lot of research showing the cognitive enhancement properties of nicotine and how it can help fight Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. When it's mixed with tobacco, with smoking, that's when it's a problem. But nicotine by itself, in diluted form, is fine. So yeah, there's a crazy article that got me fired up. Okay, so eSig Intelligence, they just published a post, U.S. regulation, all the bills in progress, state by state. So this is a really cool resource. What they're doing is putting together everything happening in the U.S. regarding proposed bills and stuff like that. So they start out with an executive summary if you want to read it, but you scroll down a little bit and you see notes on legislative sessions. So this is when you can expect bills to be proposed in your state. So check here and see if your state's listed so that you know when to start keeping an eye out for some of these bills coming through. Moving down, federal legislation. So this section is going to stay up to date with federal level proposals and bills that have already passed. And below that is where you start to get to the state level stuff. So check here to see if your state shows up, see what's happening, and if anything is happening in your state, get involved. Okay, so halocigs.com, they just published an article titled, VTA releases guidelines on Child Nicotine Poisoning Prevention Act. If you're not already aware, Obama signed the Child Nicotine Poisoning Prevention Act of 2015, and which is supported by everyone, the vaping industry as well. It pretty much just makes sure that e-liquid bottles and nicotine bottles have child safety protections on them. And that's a good thing. What I found interesting in this post is the VTA, who is the Vapor Technology Association, which HaloSigs is a part of and a founding member, I put together some guidelines on making sure that packaging liquid nicotine containers are packaged in accordance with the Consumer Product Safety Commission standards. So if you want to see what goes into making sure a bottle meets these standards, check out this post. It's a lot of things. So they gather 50 children who are from 3.5 to a little over 4. The tester hands the packages to 2 children at a time and says, "Try to open this for me." Each child is given up to 5 minutes to open the package. The tester reassures the children to keep trying if they get bored or give up. At the end of 5 minutes, the kids put the bottles down and the tester quietly demonstrates to them how it is opened. Then they give the bottles back and say, "Now you try to open it." If after that second test and they still have yet to open it, they are told that they can use their teeth. So to pass this test, no more than 3 children should be able to open the package in the first 5 minutes, and no more than 5 children within the whole 10 minutes. So yeah, sounds like a pretty boring test for those kids. Okay, guide2vaping.com, they just posted an article titled March Madness in the Vaping World. I just wanted to bring this up just because it talks about some big vaping conventions coming up in March. Probably the biggest of the year, really. VPX Detroit is the first one mentioned here. Now this is one that I know a lot of product reviewers are going to. People like Mark Fagan, Mike Vapes, ST Vapes, Dirty, a bunch of the guys, a bunch of the vape reviewers, they're all going. Even Daniel from DJLSB is going. He's flying into the US, his first time in the United States, and he's going to Detroit. So if you want to meet a reviewer, that's the one to go to. That one is March 4th through the 6th. The next one, VCCT 16, that's from March 12th to the 13th. This one is in Tampa, Florida, and admission to the general public is free. So if you're in Florida, that sounds like a pretty cool one to go to. And then the third one here, Vapor Slam 2016. This one is from the March 18th, 19th, and 20th, and that's in Charlotte, North Carolina. This one was voted by the public as best vaping convention on that most recent Guide to Vaping voting contest they had. So yeah, 3 really big conventions to go to in March. This image is from someone named Christopher Russell on Facebook. It's been passed around. I think Grim Green passed it around. I found it from Twisted 420. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. So he says, "For any e-cigarette users who are worried by stories in the media about e-cigarettes exploding, don't be. It's terrible. Misleading journalism at best and a scare tactic at worst. These media stories rarely give the full story or accurately convey how rare these events are. So here is some context. No electrical appliance, toasters, iPhones, hair dryers, etc., can be used 1 billion times without something going wrong. Ballpoint pens kill about 100 people a year. 450 people die every year falling out of bed, and 13 people are killed every year by falling vending machines. None of these stats lead anyone to call for pens, beds, and vending machines to be banned. In 2014, there were about 2.5 million Americans using an e-cigarette. Between 2009 and 2014, there were 25 reports of e-cigarettes exploding, which resulted in 9 injuries and no deaths. Only 2 explosions happened while a person was using it. So 2.5 million people using their e-cigarette millions of times and only 25 explosions. That means that a chance of an e-cigarette exploding while you're using it is roughly 0.0000001%. You're just as likely to be killed by a falling vending machine than you are to have an e-cigarette explode while using it. But if you give up on e-cigarettes and go back to smoking regular cigarettes, your chance of dying from a smoking-related disease will be 50%. So, which odds do you prefer? Great message. So I just had one more article before the video cut out. This one is about vapingunderground.com. So a user on Reddit by the name of eSigTraffic posted some screenshots of his Google Analytics showing that the referral traffic he's getting from vapingunderground.com is coming entirely from 10 different servers. None of it looks natural, so he's paying for a $250 ad here. So what it looks like is happening is that Vaping Underground is using bots to send fake traffic to their advertisers' websites to inflate the value of these advertisements, probably in hopes that they'll keep advertising with them, never noticing that they're not getting real traffic. I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't heard Vapor Joe or anyone from Vaping Underground come out about it yet. Yeah, Vaping Underground is a good site for consumers, but maybe not so good for advertisers. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode. Hopefully, if you stuck around this far, the audio and video wasn't too terrible. I know it was, but I hope what you saw was useful and interesting. So I hope to see you guys all back here next week. Thanks.